I woke up on a Tuesday with absolutely nothing to do. I had a multi-million-dollar portfolio, a completely empty calendar, and I had never felt more lost. I'd won the game of early retirement at 35. I had everything I thought I ever wanted. Total financial freedom, no boss, an open schedule, and I was the most miserable I've ever been. This is the story of how the dream of financial independence, retire early, the FIRE movement, almost completely wrecked my life. For 15 years, my life had one single-minded purpose: to escape. The FIRE movement wasn't just a financial plan. For me, it was a religion. I was a true believer. You know, the kind of person who sees work as this necessary evil you have to endure and then aggressively run away from. My job in finance was stressful, it was demanding, and if I'm being honest with myself, it was burning me out. The pressure was so constant, I never had a second to breathe and ask if this was the life I actually wanted. But the way out seemed so obvious, so mathematical. I'd picture myself on some beach, laptop totally optional, finally free from the 9-to-5 grind that I was convinced was the source of all my problems. The 4% rule wasn't a suggestion, it was scripture. Every single decision I made was filtered through the lens of my savings rate. I was gunning for a 70% savings rate, which basically means my life was just an exercise in saying no. Turning down dinners with friends? No. Skipping family vacations? No. Anything that even remotely smelled like fun? Hard pass. But it all felt like a noble sacrifice at the time. Every dollar I saved was another second of freedom I was buying for my future self. But then, the quiet started to get really loud. I'd watch my net worth tick up, my freedom number inching closer and closer. The pain of the present, the isolation, the burnout, feeling like my life was on pause, was all numbed by the promise of this perfect work-free future. I wasn't just working a job, I was on a mission. And on my 35th birthday, I hit my number. I walked into my boss's office, handed in my notice, and walked out feeling like I'd just broken out of prison. The first few weeks were a honeymoon of blissful nothingness. I was sleeping in, taking long walks, and drinking coffee that was never, ever rushed. I'd done it. I was free. The dream started to fall apart, slowly at first, and then all at once. All the things nobody ever tells you about early retirement suddenly became my daily reality. First up, there's the social void. When you retire at 35, you're living on a completely different planet from everyone you know. My friends were all still buried in their careers. Their weeks were full of deadlines, team meetings, and after-work drinks. My week? It was a vast, empty desert. I'd be sitting around at 11 a.m. on a Tuesday wondering what to do with myself while their calendars were booked solid. The occasional lunch was nice, but I quickly started to feel like a side character in their very busy lives. They couldn't relate to my new world, and honestly, I was starting to lose touch with theirs. That shared struggle of the work week, the common ground we'd all stood on for a decade, just vanished. I felt like a total misfit. People just don't know what to do with you when you're not productive in the way they understand. The freedom I chased so hard turned out to be incredibly lonely, but the loneliness was only half of it. The next problem was a total loss of purpose. For 15 years, my whole identity was the guy trying to retire early. The chase was my purpose. Before that, my job title was my identity. When someone asked, "So what do you do?" I had an answer that sounded respectable. After I retired, that question became terrifying. I don't really do anything. It felt embarrassing, like I was a loser. I had no idea how much of my self-worth was tangled up in my job and in that relentless goal. Once the goal was achieved, I felt hollow. That security I'd wanted so badly just led to complacency. The drive that pushed me to do something so insane just packed up and left, leaving this huge void. I'd wake up every day and ask myself the same terrifying question: now what? That's the real paradox of freedom. When your time is unlimited, it can become a source of crushing anxiety, not joy. I'd won the game, but now I was terrified of losing. All those years of being hyper-frugal had completely rewired my brain. I'd spent more than a decade telling myself no, and now that I could finally say yes, I couldn't. Spending money, even on things I needed or that I knew would make me happy, triggered this wave of panic. One financial planner I read about calls it a scarcity mindset, and it's a very real psychological prison. I had the money, but mentally, I was still broke. This was all made worse by a new fear that was always there. The fear that it would all go away. I'd watch the stock market, and every little dip felt like a personal attack on my future. That's the fragile reality of a plan that hangs entirely on the market's performance. If any of this is hitting home, if you've ever worried about what happens after you reach your big goals, do me a favor and hit that like button. It tells me I'm not the only one who's felt this way, and maybe you aren't either. And subscribe if you want to hear more about how to build a life, not just a bank account. My turning point wasn't some big aha moment. It was a slow, painful grind. It was realizing that after 6 months of freedom, I wasn't just unhappy. I felt like I was disappearing. And the boredom. I was not prepared for the boredom. I thought being bored was for teenagers, but the long, unstructured days were just agonizing. I was aimless, I was isolated, and I was completely adrift. The real catalyst was a conversation with my wife. She just looked at me one day and said, "I miss the old you. The one who was passionate, even when he was stressed. You're not him anymore." She was right. I had become a ghost in my own life. I had achieved financial independence, but I'd completely forgotten the part where you're supposed to live. So, I started reading stories from other early retirees and found out I wasn't alone. One person admitted they started picking fights with strangers online just to feel something. Another, a guy named Brandon Ganch, who retired at 34, talked about how his extreme saving made him and his wife miserable. He said he had to shift his whole mindset from maximizing his net worth to maximizing his net fulfillment. That phrase, net fulfillment, hit me like a ton of bricks. My entire life had been about the numbers on a spreadsheet, and I hadn't spent a single second figuring out what fulfillment even meant to me. I finally realized that money is supposed to serve your goals. It's not the goal itself. Financial independence doesn't solve life's big problems. It just gets money out of the way so you can face them. That was the beginning of the real change. I had to stop thinking of retirement as an endpoint and start seeing financial independence for what it is. A tool. It's the freedom to choose your life, not the freedom from all of its responsibilities. Rebuilding my life meant I had to completely redefine what retirement even was. The point isn't to stop working. The point is to get to a place where work is optional and actually means something to you. First, I had to tackle the boredom and the gaping void in my calendar. Instead of waking up to nothing, I started planning my weeks like a menu, mixing in things that were challenging with things that were just for fun. I started small. I joined a gym and started going at 10 a.m., not because I had to, but just because I could. I started volunteering at a local animal shelter, something I'd always wanted to do but never made time for. It gave me a reason to get out of the house and a feeling of contributing to something bigger than myself. And that led to the biggest change of all. I went back to work, not because I needed the money, but because I wanted the engagement. I didn't go back to the high-stress finance world, hell no. I started a small consulting business, just helping people get their personal finances in order. I work maybe 10 hours a week, and it's completely on my own terms. It gives me the structure and the mental workout I was craving, without any of the burnout. It turns out, I didn't hate work. I hated my job. That's the power of financial independence. It gives you the freedom to find or create the work you actually love. I also fixed my messed up relationship with money. I read a book called Die with Zero, the same one that influenced the blogger I mentioned, Brandon, and it helped me shift from that scarcity mindset to one of intentional spending. My wife and I created a joy budget, money set aside specifically for experiences that make us happy, no guilt allowed. We started traveling again, not extravagantly, but with purpose. I finally got it. Wealth is useless if you're too scared to use it to build a life you actually enjoy. Finally, I de-risked my life, not just my portfolio. Instead of obsessively checking the market every day, I set up a more balanced, long-term plan. That simple shift dramatically lowered my daily anxiety and let me focus on living my life. Look, the FIRE movement isn't a total lie. Financial independence is a powerful and worthwhile goal, but it's sold as a finish line, and that's the most dangerous part. It's not a finish line, it's a new starting line. It's the beginning of a chapter where you have to consciously design a life of purpose, connection, and fulfillment. My journey into early retirement almost ruined my life because I was so obsessed with what I was running from that I never stopped to think about what I was running to. The ultimate goal isn't to just stop working. It's to build a life where work is optional, your time is intentional, and your days are full. And you shouldn't wait until you hit your number to figure out what that looks like. Start building that life right now. So I'll ask you, what does your ideal life actually look like, with or without a job? Let me know down in the comments. And if you want to learn more about how to design a life of purpose before you even think about quitting your job, check out this next video on how to build a post-retirement plan. It's the guide I wish I'd had from the start.